Hey there, creative makers. I'm Liz Kettle, and today I am bringing to you a tutorial on one of my favorite products. It is Misty Fuse, and you may not know what it is because it's really kind of been used in the quilting world and not so much in the mixed media world. And I'm going to show you some great ways you can use it, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Now, first of all, what is Misty Fuse? It is this. It's very sheer, and it is basically, it's heat activated glue. So don't think of it as a quilting supply. Think of it as heat activated glue. And I'm going to show you how it works. It can fuse paper to paper, fabric to paper, fabric to fabric, and fabric or paper to wood. I mean, just so many ways you can use it. I just love this. It's one of my best go-to tools in the studio. It comes in 3 different forms. There's the white, plain white. There is blue ultraviolet. Well, it's not blue, it's white, but it's ultraviolet. And so this is, if you're concerned about preservation, all fusible webs will tan over time. They will get kind of yellowed and a little bit darker. So this one is formulated to not do that. There's also black. So if you are using sheer fabrics, dark sheer fabrics, this is amazing. Now this works great on all kinds of sheer fabrics. I use it on silk organza, lace. You can fuse lace to paper, lace to wood, lace to fabric. So exciting. So let me get the tools you need and we'll get right to it. All right, let's get started. So you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need a Teflon sheet or some nonstick parchment paper. Either will work just fine. But you want to protect your ironing surface and your fabrics from the fusible web getting stuck on them. So I've at my ironing table, and I also use a rotary cutter and a cutting mat to cut it. It's because it's so lightweight and flimsy, it's a little bit hard to cut straight lines with scissors. So you can easily cut shapes with scissors, but I usually use a rotary cutter to get the basic shape down. Now I'm going to show you the 2 basic methods, and the first is a sandwich method, what I call a sandwich. I don't know what anybody else calls it, but I call it a sandwich. So I'm going to take my base fabric, and then I have another applique fabric that I'm going to put on top, and then I've got my piece of Misty Fuse, and I usually cut my Misty Fuse just a hair smaller than my actual fabric. So I'm just going to sandwich this all together and make sure that no fusible web is sticking out of the edges. Cover this just in case some is sticking out. And then I'm going to apply heat with the iron. Now you don't have to press, you don't have to, iron it for a particularly long time. One of the nice things about Misty Fuse is you can't over iron it. It will not go away. The other thing I like about it is it does not dry out, because I've had other fusible webs, especially when I lived in a much drier climate, that after a couple years they were not usable. So here we have it. My fabric is fused down to my other fabric, so it's not going anywhere, and I can easily stitch on it. One of the reasons I like to use it this way is I like to have projects that I can pick up and take with me whenever I'm going somewhere, vacation, or just down to the work in front of the TV with the family. So this way I've fused all my fabrics down to my base, and then I can take it with me. I don't have pins in it that are going to poke me, and I can just stitch away. It's so lightweight that it's really easy to stitch through. It does not change the hand of the fabric at all, which is really important when you're hand stitching. You don't want something to be kind of thick. All right, so the other way to do it is to make a patch or an applique. So what I'm going to do, and I've got a piece of lace for this. So I've roughly cut my Misty Fuse to the size of this piece of lace. That little stray thread out of there. It's a little bit bigger, but that's okay, because we're going to put the Teflon sheet on top. And I have the Misty Fuse facing up. Now when you iron it to the back of a piece of fabric or lace or anything else, you want to let it cool just a minute before you peel it off. So I usually turn it over check to make sure that it has fused. Now the Teflon sheets do get hot, so just be careful about that. And I can see that it's fused nicely, and it's what happens is it pulls back in these open areas, so you won't see that when you have the lace fused to another piece of fabric. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just very, very fine in there. All right, so now I've got a patch, and I can always check to see if there's any areas that are sticking out. And you can, maybe you can see it's a little bit shiny. So that's how you know if you have Misty Fuse on it and that it's fused to your fabric, because it will be shiny. All right, just gonna put that on there. The nice thing about the Teflon sheets is that they do get hot. So you don't have to iron quite so long because they get hot and kind of magnify the heat. All right, there we go. Beautiful fuse, and there's like one little spot of Misty Fuse I can see in that hole there that didn't melt away, but the rest of it is gone, and this is firmly attached. Now, one of the things with Misty Fuse that I have found is you can unattach it later. So what I do is, like, if this has sat around for a while and I was like, oh, I really need this little piece of lace, it's the only one I have, you can usually heat it up a little bit and then pull it off. I don't know if it will. Yep, I can pull it off because it's still warm. But once it's all cooled down, it will stay attached. So you don't have to worry about it coming apart. Now, I always do hand or machine stitch everything, so I don't worry about that. So next, let me show you how I fuse paper to some fabric. So this is just some backing fabric that I have, and I did these stamps when I was doing a demo a couple weeks ago, and I just thought, I just love the way this particular one came out, and it was just on cheap sketchbook paper. There was nothing particularly great about this paper, and so I thought, I really wanted to stitch on it, so I can make myself a little sandwich, put this in here. Now this is a little bit bigger, so let me get my scissors. Now, one thing that you do need to be aware of when you are working with Misty Fuse is these little pieces, if you trim it up, because if they stay on your mat, they will melt, and they may melt onto something else. Oh, there it is right there. So always keep track of these little pieces. All right, I'm just going to sandwich this, do it in one fell swoop. If I needed to be precise with this, I would probably make it into a patch or an applique by fusing it onto the paper and then fusing it onto this backing. Let it cool for a moment. And when you're working with sheer fabrics or really lightweight silk, you do want to let it cool quite a bit because you can distort the fabric. I noticed that mostly with polyester fabrics though. So it does work on polyester fabrics as well as cotton, silk, all the normal fabrics we love to use. So now this is fused on to this backing fabric, and I went to the machine and stitched it. Isn't that fun? So now I've got this, I can trim it up, I can put it into something else, and it's just another piece of fodder for my artwork. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I hate to throw anything away. Little scraps, I hate to throw them away, I hate to waste them. So, you know, just cut out my sketchbook page, and here I've got something fun I can use down the line. Now, let me show you using, this is a piece of paper towel, and I've already pre-fused the Misty Fuse on the back. You can see that it's a little bit shiny. So I put that on there, and I'm going to put it in this sketchbook that I've been working on for a few years. It's just kind of one that I fill up here and there. So this is an example of paper to paper. One of the places I used it, where it was the most important that I used it, was I had some vintage piano roll paper, and I wanted to collage an image, do an image transfer on top of it, and then fuse it to fabric and stitch on it. So I I did that. I fused it to fabric, did the image transfer, and there you go. So now I've got this paper fused onto here. It's not coming up, well, like that one section is. Do a little bit longer. There we go. Now we can see it's fused there. So I can work into this some more. I can just leave it like it is. I kind of like how these smoky lines of this paper towel. Again, I don't like to throw stuff away if I can repurpose it in my artwork. So paper to paper. And here I have an example of fabric to paper. So this is one of my stitch meditations, and I have already put the Misty Fuse on the back, and I'm turning it into a card for a friend. So I'm simply going to place it on the card. Maybe we'll put it up a little towards the top. And iron away. And then I can go to the machine and stitch around it if I want to. I could add some more elements at the bottom, or I can just send it like this, add some more hand stitching if I wanted to go through the card. Probably I'll just run it through the machine very quickly. Now this one I'm doing a little bit longer because it's got this really thick section over here, and it's got a couple layers of fabric. So I want to make sure that the heat gets all the way through. The other thing you can do is go from the back of your card or the back of your paper or the back of your fabric to make sure that Misty Fuse gets really, really melted. So there we go. It's ready to go. Card for a friend. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. You know, you use a product all the time and you sort of assume everybody knows about it. And when I taught a class a couple weeks ago, I had all these students who had never used it before, didn't know anything about it because they were all from the mixed media world. So mixed media people, Misty Fuse, it's going to be your friend. You're going to love it. Let me know how you use it.